Moonletter, Astrological Podcast.
Trust me, I'm lying. Nessus and Brexit by Ben Belinsky. The inspiration for this piece comes from an article in 2600, the Hacker Quarterly. The article is by a contributor who calls themselves N0X, and their piece is called Trust Me, I'm Lying, Psychology and Social Engineering. And the echo to the astrological influence of Nessus hit my crazy cat head like one of Ignat's legendary bricks. I've written about the influence of Nessus before. I've described him as a con artist and scammer whose astrological influence is to wise up the marks. Back in mythological times, Nessus was a centaur, half man, half horse, who was working as a ferryman across the river. Who should come along but the hero Hercules and his wife Deianira. She's a beauty, of course, but the boat is too small for all three of them. So Hercules opts to wade across, while Nessus ferries Deianira to the other side. As I said, she's a beauty, and Nessus decides to have his way with her. Hercules, still halfway across the river, hears her cries and shoots one of his poisoned arrows, which hits Nessus. And as the poison is working through his system, Nessus tells Deianira to take some of the blood from his wound and use it to make a love philter to stop her husband from straying. She believes him. We'll come to the rest of the story in a moment, but this is worthy of note. This is the crucial part of Nessus' game. He gets her to believe him. Okay, on with the story. So Deianira takes some of Nessus' blood and soaks a tunic in it, and the next time Hercules goes off on one of his labours, she gives him the tunic, telling him to wear it in memory of her. But the poison from the arrow that had killed Nessus is now in the tunic. The poison burns into Hercules' flesh. The tunic is stuck to him. He can't get it off and is in agony. He asks for a funeral pyre to be built for him so that he can die. But the question is, why did Deianira believe Nessus? That's the part that intrigues me. I've written about the astrological influence of the centaur-like asteroid named after Nessus in the e-book Nessus, the Bad Boy of the Centaurs, where I focused mostly on the charts of individuals, looking at scams and scam-busting. I looked at the charts of abusers such as Harvey Weinstein, politicians such as Margaret Thatcher and Tony Blair, celebrities like Tupac Shakur and Meghan Markle. I looked at instances where a transit of Nessus to a sensitive part of the chart led to, or could have led to, someone being the victim of a scam. And no matter how clever and sussed we think we are, we can all be duped. Then once we realize we've been had, we wake up, we become wiser. But it's not only individuals who get conned. Whole countries can be persuaded to trust the lies and end up falling for the tricks. As an example, a cautionary tale if you like, I want to look at the biggest con perpetuated on the British people, that of Brexit. The manipulation and downright lies that were sold and which got an otherwise sensible and sophisticated polity to act in a manner contrary to their own best interests. What historians have since described as shooting oneself in the foot. The chart I'm using is the 1801 chart for the union of the Kingdom of Britain and the Kingdom of Ireland into one sovereign state. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. This arrangement lasted until the birth of the Irish Free State in 1922, but the 1801 chart seems to be the most useful. The chart is for midnight local mean time on January the 1st, 1801, set for London, and the period leading up to the Brexit vote on 23rd of June 2016, the UK chart was being hit by a series of conjunctions of transiting Nessus to natal Pluto in the 5th house. In a national chart, the 5th house is the country's sovereignty, while its opposite house, the 11th, deals with associations with other countries. During that period there were also a series of squares from transiting Nessus to the UK's natal Chiron in the 3rd house, the house of siblings and neighbours. And sovereignty was the biggest claim that the proponents of leaving the EU could muster. The slogan, "Take back control," the falsified pictures of queues of immigrants entering the country, the lies told in the right-wing media about the undue influence of European institutions, and in addition the carefully balanced ambiguity of British commitment to the European project was upset when companies like Cambridge Analytica put their finger on the scales using advanced techniques of social engineering through targeted use of social media and swung the vote to exiting the European Union. Unfortunately, it has not been possible to find a date for the foundation of Cambridge Analytica, it being a subsidiary of another company, SCL Consulting, which no longer exists. That would have been interesting. There have been many theories as to why the so-called deep state of the United Kingdom, also known as the establishment, wanted the country to leave the European Union. One theory is that there was pressure within the European Union to tighten controls of money laundering and the use of offshore tax havens, in which the UK is a major player and a significant beneficiary. Russian-linked social media activity has also been suggested as swinging the vote towards leave, as Russia would certainly benefit from a weakened EU. Russia, of course, denies these allegations. And now, almost 10 years after that vote, leaving the single market and the customs union with our closest geographical and cultural neighbours, the UK is waking up to the fact that the promises of Brexit have failed to materialise. Small and medium-sized UK firms that want to export to the EU now face a mountain of documentation, while many large corporations have moved their operations overseas. As UK citizens, we no longer have the right to live and work in 27 other countries. Travelling to the EU now involves jumping through bureaucratic hoops that didn't exist before. Scientific cooperation between EU countries and the UK has ended. The UK's economic growth is behind that of the European Union, and the promised trade deal with the United States has failed to materialise. These realisations have been coming about while Nessus has been making a series of squares to the UK's Mercury in the 3rd house. Nessus square Mercury. Painful realisations, what could be called an oh shit moment. Waking up to the consequences of our actions, realising that we were conned.
And for more astrological and spiritual musings, check out moonletter.co.uk.